Well, it's time to build a new structure kit, and I think what I'm going to build is this Blair line, Greene's Feed and Seed. Now this is a wood craftsman kit. I built a couple craftsman kits a few years ago, and it was okay, you know. I know some people really like these things. I'm a little bit indifferent about it. It doesn't matter to me too much if it's a wood craftsman kit or a plastic kit. Let's open this thing up and see what it looks like. All right. Looks like that's all of it. Laser cut. I remember back in the old days when I was building Gillows model airplanes, everything was die cut or die crunched. This laser cutting's pretty nice. I'm not exactly sure where I want to put this. Some things I like about it is it's a one-story building. It's about 8 inches long and about 4 inches wide, including the dock. All right, let's see what's in the bag. I got some paper signs. I think this is my roofing material, pre-rusted. It's interesting. I don't know if this is peel and stick. Some windows. I'm going to be careful with these. Some of these are already starting to fall out. I saved some of these little containers. They're good for putting small parts in. And the stuff that comes in them is pretty good on bagels. So I got some drums. So I got some feed sacks. Looks like these are the lids for the drums. I think this is the floor of the building, so you can see the size of it. Here's the roof panels. There's the sides of the building. The siding's pretty nicely done. All right. Before I even get started building this, I need to figure out where it's going to go. And being that it's a one-story structure, having it along this narrow piece of benchwork here in the stone wall section seems like a really good place because it'll be easy to reach over. Now, in hindsight, I wish I would have widened out the benchwork 4 inches all the way down to the end, but I didn't, and I'm not going to redo this. So this building will just have to be cut. So I'll need to make up my mind how far away from the track I want it. All right, I've cut the floor for width. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the rest of these wall pieces and I'm going to want to cut those for width so they match up with this. Gluing it together here, the wood is a little bit warped, so it'll be interesting to see how it looks after the glue dries. Now it's pretty obvious how I cut the side off here. All right, I've cut this wall here in order to fit in on this side. I just want to use it to have something for my piece of styrene to glue to. As you can see, looking at the building from this angle, that this part of the building's been cut off in order to fit my benchwork. And so what I'll do is glue this styrene on here. I want to have a nice surface to paint. And you see there's a little bit of gap on the ends. And I'm going to use some balsa to fill these gaps on the ends, because I think that'll be easier to blend that into the plywood front and back when I sand that. I've been having a little bit of trouble with warp parts. I'm not going to blame Blair line for that. I've had this kit for probably at least 5 years. So I'm fighting that a little bit, but I've gotten most of the twist out. When I glue the pieces in place, and while the glue's wet, I weight everything down, and so it's sitting down flat on my cutting mat. And when the glue dries, hopefully everything is straightened out. And it's in pretty good shape right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some Eileen's tacky glue and a cheap brush, and I'm going to spread that all over this side, and then I can apply my styrene. And I want to make sure I get the glue down here on the bottom edge. So I want the styrene sheet to stick to this bottom edge. All right. And lining it up on this top edge is more important than worrying about this bottom edge, so I can trim this off. And you can see I have gaps on the end, but I'm going to cover those gaps on the end with balsa. I have my styrene piece installed. Now this is going to be on the aisle side of the benchwork, and I have the pieces of balsa on the end, so I'm hoping with the balsa that after sanding it, it matches up with this siding pretty well. I have to get some paint on it just to see where I'm at. And on this side of the building, I'll have to do something here at the bottom of the siding where the base of the building is. I'll have to cover that up. But since I have a door here and the building is going to be up on stilts, I think I'm going to want to put just a real small dock here. And it might only be, just a fraction of an inch deep. But I'm going to have to put the building up on the layout and measure how deep I need my dock to be. It's going to be a pretty short one. Now the structure is going to sit right up against the edge of the benchwork on the aisle side here. And this will all be painted black. From the side of my building to the edge of the ties is about 20-30 seconds. So I'm going to make a dock about a ½ inch deep from the edge of the building out to a ½ inch. And I'll make it just a little bit wider than the doors. Since the building has doors and it's going to be up on stilts, I need to put a dock there because I need to have a reason for the doors to be there. I'm going to add this first set of risers to the building. And once I have this installed, then I can start adding in the additional risers. I'm gluing all this stuff together with Tight Bond, which is an amazing wood glue. I have this first row of risers glued on, so I'm going to let that sit up for a couple hours, and I'll pull the clamps off and start adding in the rest of the pieces. I have all the risers glued in place. Let this sit up for a while. Once this all dries, I'll take a saw and cut these off even with the back side of the building. I've cut off the extra length of the risers. Since my building's been narrowed. And I have my small dock installed. That's been glued on. The front steps have been built. So those are ready to paint. So I'm going to take it out on the layout and see how it fits. All right, so this is how it's going to fit up against the back edge of the benchwork here. Now this is all going to be painted black, the same as the fascia. And here you can see how the small dock fits up close to the track. I've applied some internal bracing to the structure. I have some bracing above the doors and of course across the inside of the building. These kits are notorious for warping once you get paint on them. I believe I have the structure to the point where I have to put some paint on it. Now, I can't put the glass in the windows until I get it painted. And I can't put the LEDs in the building until I get it painted. So I think that is the next step. And the roof will be the last thing that goes on the building, because once I put the roof on, then it's enclosed and I can't get inside the building. So I'll have to have the windows installed. I'll have to have the LED lights installed before I put the roof on. Well, I think I'm going to end this one here. I have the Blair line, Greene's Feed and Seed, to the point where I need to put some paint on it. I think this is a good stopping point. So this will be the end of part 1. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you come back. Join me again.